Reliance by Kieran Marsden. He was getting close to 3 teaspoons of the black gold now. Coffee. A year ago, when he discovered its amazing capabilities, it provided a buzz and energy, and it made his mornings actually enjoyable here. Back then, it was just 1 teaspoon, but now he was edging close to 3. He didn't want 3 teaspoons. Even he knew that was probably not good for you, despite what CCP Grey in that YouTube video had said. It's all great apparently. So, 3 teaspoons went into that small plastic white cup. He flicked the tap on the boiler for instantaneous boiling water and only filled it halfway to create what most would call tar. Then he topped it up with cold water. Then it was down the hatch. Why had he drunk the coffee that morning? Well, several factors were at play. He was hungover, quite majorly. What had begun with a relaxing beer at night had turned to 8 or 9, sometimes 10. He knew he shouldn't be doing it, but he had been doing it now for 6 weeks. And he felt okay, like he had his coffees in the morning to get him through, and his beers at night to get him through that. He was fine. He still went to work every day, right? The second factor was Jill. See, Michael Stokes, our protagonist, was 24 years old, and he returned back to his hometown from university and got his old job back in the bakery he'd worked at before. He intended to do something with his history degree, just what was still to be discovered. Yes, he despised Jill. But the truth was, even if she wasn't in, he'd be taking the black stuff, like a postnatal depressed woman takes the red stuff. Wine, if you're wondering. It was 6:32 a.m, and as he glanced at the clock in the staff room, he knew Jill would be waiting there already, wondering why the first batch of sausage rolls wasn't already in. 2 minutes, Jill. Just give me 2 minutes. But no, you won't, because you're a sad old cow who's worked here for 20 years, whose pitiful life's only meaning is to make sure pastry is cooked on time, he thought. But he tried not to get stressed about it. The coffee was working its wonders, the lights turned on in his head, and his step quickened. He was alive again. Ah, yes, good old coffee. I'm back, baby, he thought. When he stepped into the bakery, all 4'11" of Jill was there, wider than she is tall. She looks like a golf ball in that little white hat, he thought. You're 3 minutes late, Michael. Why haven't you... Morning, Jill, he said, with a ridiculous exuberance. Why haven't you got the first batch? Beautiful morning, isn't it, Jill? Said Michael, washing his hands, which was policy. I'm asking you a question, Michael, said Jill. That's right, Jill. And I'm trying to act like a decent person and treat you like a human being, engaging you in regular conversational discourse that provides us all with a social cohesion that often is empty in meaning but is vitally important to maintain healthy relationships and stable environments. Is that okay? Why aren't the sausage rolls in, Michael? His hands were still under the hot tap. They were burning, and he focused on the pain. 2 minutes, Jill. Just 2 minutes. This isn't good enough, said Jill, chuntering away to herself. After getting in a few batches, sausage rolls, Cornish pasties, cheese and onion pastries, and having them ready on the counter, he began the morning cleaning routine. A lot of that actually just consisted of organising the freezer that was attached to the stall, ready for the day. After that, Michael stood waiting for his first customers to arrive. He could feel this tingling buzz that he didn't like in his stomach. It had become a frequent occurrence. It was normally when the coffee high was waning off. He knew what he needed to do. He just needed his time and opportunity. Jill come down, appeared in front of him, as he contemplated. Presumably, she'd been harassing staff in the salad bar next door. Now, bored with that, she had returned to him. How long have you just been standing there? She said. He didn't even know how to answer it. He knew whatever he said would displease her, and he just considered just how ridiculous of a human being she was. He laughed. Do you think that's funny, Michael? No, Jill, sorry. I'm just waiting for the first customer. Get something done, Michael. Jesus. He sort of rolled his eyes and headed into the back. But all the cleaning was done. The rolls were ready. But as he stood there, he realised this was his opportunity. A quick march to the staff room, and he was there. 3 heaped teaspoons of the black stuff going in. Bing! He was back, buzzing, yummy. Then he set off, back to the counter. 2 male customers were there. They looked like tradesmen, workmen. Are you serious, mate? Said one. Sorry, what would you like? Mate, I've got to be at work in like 2 minutes, Jesus Christ. 4 sausage rolls, and hurry about it. Sure, said Michael, as the other guy chimed in. It's the exact same for me, mate. It's never like this on the other counters, is it? It's always this one. Him, said the other guy, as Michael dropped greasy sausage rolls into a brown paper bag. Michael paused and raised his head above the counter. Well, all the other counters have more than 1 members of staff on, and on here it's just, mate, Jesus Christ, shut up and get the sausage roll. I'm going to be late. For crying out loud. Michael plopped the other 2 sausage rolls into the bag, put on the label and handed it over as the guy snatched it from his hand. That's when the little white hat appeared just over the counter. Is everything okay? Said Jill. Well, it would just appear you've got a bit of a mong working for you, love. Me and this guy, we've been waiting for like 5 minutes before he turned up. Michael, where were you? Said Jill. You, asked me to look busy, so I went to go clean and... No! You can stop that right now! It's customers always first, Michael. Do you hear me? Michael could barely see Jill over the counter, but he watched this guy smiling, a real dirty grin, who loved to watch someone berated. He knew immediately what kind of human this was. I'm really sorry about that, sir. Michael, we'll be having words later. Now serve him, she said, as he watched her little waddling hat disappear. I'll have 2 sausage rolls and 2 cheese and onion pasties, said the man, still grinning. And the grin didn't leave his face the entire time as Michael got his goods and passed them over the counter. Michael couldn't help himself. What are you grinning at? Immediately, that smile was wiped off his face and he glared at Michael. You what? Why are you grinning like that? I'll do what I want. Don't you start on me, boy. It was just a question, said Michael. You're horrible, aren't you? Look at you. If I see you round town, I'd watch it if I was you. Okay, mate, said Michael. The man glared some more. God. But before he could finish his sentence, Michael turned away and headed to the freezer. He needed to get more rolls in. It wasn't long before that annoying hum was back in his stomach. He didn't like it, and the quickest and easiest way to get rid of it was 3 teaspoons of the black stuff. This humming feeling in his stomach was worse between the hours of 4 and 7, the middle point between his coffee consumption and his beer consumption. Usually his hands would begin to tremble, and he would feel almost nervous, like he needed to run. But he knew what he needed to make it go away. Alcohol. This had become Michael's daily routine, one he thought he was in control of. 21 scoops of coffee in the morning, and around 10 cans of beer in the evening. This was now his normality. As he would like to phrase it, this is just fine. It's his thing. Michael, appeared Jill behind him. He turned slowly. I want to talk about something. Your appearance, said Jill. What about it? Is everything okay? She didn't say it in a caring way. It was patronising, and just another weapon in her arsenal to put him down. I don't like your tone, said Michael. Excuse me, said Jill. Is this how you provide your life with reason, Jill? By using the power vested in you by this company to degrade employees 20 years younger than yourself, who are only listening to you because they need the income from this work to maintain their lifestyle. Nobody likes or respects you, you know. It's a facade. A measured judgment, an equation. People have decided to humour your bad attitude and poor decorum, as it's just about worth it for their monthly wage. But you falsely believe you're better than them, don't you? Because they humour your god-awful personality, said Michael. Michael, your eyes are bloodshot, your breath smells of alcohol, and your hands are shaking. It's not good enough, said Jill. Did you even listen to a word I just said? Said Michael. I stopped listening to you a long time ago, Michael. The manager wants words in his office. Now? Yeah, right now, said Jill. 1 minute. I need the toilet, he said. So he could swing by the staff room. 4 scoops of coffee went into that little white plastic cup. His eyes widened. He really came alive. You know, I was like you once, said David Hughes, the manager, sitting in a navy blue shirt, with a tape recorder recording the meeting. He was a slim man, with suspiciously dark hair for a man of 50, and a face much suited to that of a toddler. At the bottom, I mean. I was a checkout boy, and look at me now, he said, with a soft smile. My point is, Michael, with a bit of hard work and a bit of character, you could be something. Where are you going with your life? Do you even care? You know, Andrew, said Michael, I am a strong believer in the philosophical theorem of determinism. I believe that free will is just an illusion. Consider this. When you wake up in the morning and you go to get a glass of water, did you decide to get that glass of water? Or did the biological makeup of your body create the correct chemical response to make your brain want to go get that water? Are you in control of anything? Or is it just chemical responses that we're reacting to? Are you just simply a response mechanism to the changing environmental factors around you? Are you not just a passenger to these chemical reactions in your brain, making you do things? Free will is an illusion. Do you control anything? Said Michael. Michael, one day you could be a supervisor if you just get your head down and work. It was at this exact time they both shook their heads at each other. You're not listening, are you, Michael? If your attitude doesn't change, then we'll have no choice but to talk about your future here. You have a week, and I'll be talking to Jill to see if you make the necessary improvements. Now, get back to work, please. It was the end of the shift. Michael was sweating a lot. He knew what he needed, a drink, and as he wiped everything down, he actually did it with an extra vigour. When he got these cold sweats, it was best to keep moving. If he didn't, the unbearable nervous feeling would eat away at his stomach. The whole store was just about empty. His post was last for the cleaning checks, as they needed to wait for the ovens to cool down before they could clean them. He was meant to leave 30 minutes later than most staff. "I hope he got through to you," said Jill, waddling into the room. "Right. Have you cleaned everything? You better have. You always miss something." She went about checking the ovens, the sides, the sinks, etc., ticking away at her clipboard as Michael began to sweep the floor. Not too bad. Maybe a little talk is what you needed. You don't have to be a weird failure all your life, do you now?" said Jill, walking into the freezer to do her checks. Michael stood there for a second, and something like, but not quite, happened, like an epiphany. It wasn't a great realization, but a moment of almost divine clarity in his mind. He truly did feel awake, not due to any chemical reactions on his brain, but something almost spiritual. His blood felt cold, but in a good way. He walked towards the freezer and grabbed the big metal handle and closed the big thick metal door. He then took his broom and wedged the long handle between the lever and the door, fixing everything in place. He got the mop bucket, put in some water, and cleaned the floor. The whole time, he was pleasantly pleased he couldn't hear any screams coming from the freezer. After 10 minutes, he went to go get his work bag, and he left the building. He didn't go home. He went straight into town, to a busy pub, and drank glorious beers. He knew it was going to be his last for a long time. The store worked continuously through the night, in the stockroom, the office, so there was no checks on who and who wasn't in the building. And as he ordered his 5th pint, he looked at his watch. It had been more than 3 hours. He wondered then if her heart was still beating.